Okay, now, where are we in our history? Last time I talked, I spoke of this great awakening that we're all in the middle of. I talked about the shift on the planet from fear into love that's affecting everybody. I talked about the reappearance of the feminine in history and the end of the male thought traditions. That the Aquarian age is to be about the feminine and we're in it. And I also talked about the earth, that the human race has caused a crisis for the earth that is so great we cannot even get our minds around it. That people are focused on the economic markets, on the financial markets, and the collapse of them. In fact, what's collapsing are the Earth's ecosystems, millions of years old. Okay, a lot has happened since my first talks with you, and now there's been a storm, there's been an election, and guess where we are right now? December 22nd, 2012. Yesterday, the world was supposed to end. Guess what? Today, it's still here. What really happened yesterday? It was the end of the end times, and where are we today? We are in the second coming. We are in the second coming of the Christ. Okay, back up. Now, what have all these events that have been going down to do with awakening, to do with the feminine, to do with love, to do with the reappearance of the Christ consciousness, of the second coming? They have a lot to do with it. First of all, let's start with that huge storm, 1,000 miles across, that hit the East Coast. When I first heard about it, it seemed to me that the earth was turning with fury on the human race, all up and down the East Coast. And the deep truth that we have always considered ourselves to be the pinnacle of creation, you know, the truth is that we're the parasite of the planet, and the earth is trying to cleanse herself. That was a very interesting part of the world for the earth to pick, on which to vent her fury. Oh, that long strip up and down the East Coast. The really important thing about it is that it's making people think, and it made people think from that time on, especially those who lost all their home possessions, everything. People are starting to realize that, you know, something is wrong with the weather. Politicians can't lie about it anymore. Global warming is a reality. Global warming hardly conveys the magnitude of what's happening, but something is happening with the earth. And as a friend of mine said, you don't mess with Mother. If you mess with Mother Earth, you are going to get it at some point. And, you know, that's what's happening. A lot of people started to ask really deep questions. A lot of people went into deep fear. And they began to wonder, you know, well, gee, what is life really all about? What are we really all here for? Is it to just sit in front of the TV and devour the planet? And, or, you know, play video games? Or what really matters anyhow? People are starting to ask deep questions. And all over America, I hear, you know, we have to think in new ways. We have to think differently than we have been. Well, you know, how have we been thinking? The attitude of, especially America, toward the earth, and that's what's really in question, how we've been thinking about the earth. The attitude of most America has been conquer and subdue. The earth is something to be conquered. And you know, the whole East Coast represents par excellence that way of thinking. That's where all the wealth is concentrated. That's where the powers are, the powers that shape global policies. It's almost as if the earth is coming against that mindset. And that mindset is very arrogant. And it's been here for a long time. Conquer the wilderness, conquer the Indians. The rich have to conquer the poor. The robber barons had to conquer, they had to conquer the markets. And it's always just making war on something or other, which tends to be a typical attitude of the male mind. Have to be making war on something. Conquering the earth, you know, that is the attitude that has to change. People are calling for a new way of thinking. We need to think very differently about the earth. That the earth is not commodities and resources to be ripped off to make a fast buck. The earth is living, conscious, spiritual beings who need to be cared for. They need to be nurtured and cared for, and they need to be loved. And you know, nurturing and caring, that's very much a feminine impulse. It's very much a female impulse. And you don't often hear, especially in the past, men talking about their love of the earth. It's always been board feet, to be sold off to make money, cutting the rainforest, cutting this, cutting that. No care for the earth, but the earth is something to be nurtured and cared for. And that's a very feminine impulse. The second thing about that big storm, for my take on things, is that the only person on the planet, probably, with the intelligence to get us through what the earth is going to bring down on us, was out there demonstrating his capabilities to handle this situation. And that's Barack Obama. Because I suspect this great storm is just the beginning. Everything has settled down on the East Coast. It's business as usual. It really isn't business as usual. Just wait. Okay, second thing, I think the earth chose her target very well to make a protest statement to human beings. And as many people have said, you know, we're going to have to learn our lessons the hard way. That conquer and subdue attitude is very deep in us, and it's very arrogant in us. And the question is, what's it going to take to turn that around?